Yeah, hi everyone. Firstly, before I start, I've got a bit of sweat happening, but anyway. Look, I just feel very privileged to come along here today and welcome everyone here to the homelands of the Dja Dja Wurrung people and country. It's a really great opportunity, for all of us to come together, support one another. Our future is our younger generation, where our future lies. So I've just jotted something down that I'd like to share with everyone here today before me welcome. It's a great opportunity researching support for staff and providing a program to improving care and changing lives. Our members of the communities makes us all look for research for better outcomes from better understanding and undertaking research. So I really like to thank everyone in this room for the challenges we all face from day to day. It's the same challenges as what I face from day to day in my work role, searching for that research, for help and support. So as I said, I feel very privileged to come along here and welcome everyone here to the homelands of the Dja Dja Wurrung country. So I'd like to start off, I'd like to thank everyone here today in your roles, supporting to make our communities, healthier and safe. To be able to go home to their loved ones and their families, their children, and many more. So Jason Kerr's my name. I'm a traditional owner here of Dja Dja Wurrung country. But firstly, a marathon starts with one step. So we've all made that step here today to come together. So what we need to do now is walk together, side by side, not in front or behind, but beside us for the future for us all and our younger generation. We give respect to our elders, past and present, and the younger generation merging. We give respect to our elders in our communities that have laid down the foundation for us here today. We give respect to our leaders in our communities that are helping us with our foundation here today. We give respect to our younger emerging leaders. It is through the younger generation where our future lies, through their feet, hands and voice, where we hope they strive for more than what we could. We give respect to our rivers, our streams, the soil, the air, the mountains, our hills, our cultural values. Thank you. That is my welcome here to the homelands of the Dja Dja Wurrung people and for people that's visiting from surrounding areas around Bendigo to give you that safe passage while visiting here on Dja Dja Wurrung country. Thank you.
Thanks so much for doing that, Jason, and for that lovely welcome to country. I must admit the didgeridoo, I was saying to Jason earlier, always sends shivers up my spine. It's just a beautiful sound and resonates with country, I think. So I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping now. Just a reminder for mobile phones to be switched off or on silent. The restrooms today are actually in the next building, level 2, they call it, but it's actually ground floor. But you go out around to the entry near the street and back into that beautiful red brick building beside us. Please be careful. There's been a lot of rain and it's incredibly slippery, and we've had a few close calls already. So be careful as you trottle over there and on the lino when you get in there as well, please. Fire exits, you can see, are there and there. Follow me, I'll be running screaming down to the nearest one. And the team, of course, is here to, the evacuation point is out the front of the big white building, the Ancaudal Centre. The team you'll see sort of wandering around. If you need help or support during the day, please reach out, and they're here to cater to your every need within reason. So I will now, I just wanted to flag this, after Jason's welcome to country, it's, we in Bendigo here and in the Loddon region have a much higher population of Aboriginal people living in our community than the rest of the state. So it's really important that we engage, of course, in a really safe way and respectful way with our Aboriginal communities. The Victorian Aboriginal Health Medical Research and Wellbeing Accord was released last October, and I'm really proud that Bendigo Health has signed up to be a signatory to that, to the accord. And our research, that means we'll follow the guiding principles of respectful relationships, and follow the guiding principles and factors in the accord. So very proud to be implementing that here at Bendigo Health. Now, the first sort of speech of the day, I guess, is from our board chair, Ava Pieko. And Ava's going to talk to us about bench to bedside, research and innovation as a pillar. So please join me in welcoming Ava.
Thanks, Ange. And thank you very much to Jason for that beautiful welcome and the didgeridoo playing. I've seen Jason a few times, and it always, again, it makes you feel very special, and it's a very touching welcome. I'd like to acknowledge that we are meeting on Jara country and pay my respects to the Jara people and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders with us here today. I think Jason's welcome really brought up something that's very important to the board. We discussed our vision and how we would do acknowledgement of country a couple of years ago, and we are very committed to that walking together. We respect that the Aboriginal people have been healing on this land, have been caring for this land for a very long time, and we're pretty newcomers to the story. And we are extremely committed to that walking together and to making sure that this is a safe place and a welcoming place for all people, but particularly for our First Nations people. So thank you very much, Jason. Now, here we go. As the board chair, it's my great honour to open the Bendigo Health and Research Showcase. This year's theme of improving care and changing lives is one that resonates with me as the board chair, and also I'm a local GP and a community member. I've had family members come through this service and be cared for, so it's something that's really important to me as well. It's wonderful to see so many of our passionate clinicians, academics, state, government, health service and community partners, and of course the people at the heart of our research, members of the community. And I welcome those members of the community here today because you're a very important, vital part of the research picture. And we're all coming together to see how we can improve care and change lives. Research serves as the bedrock of an innovation. It might be developing new therapies, enhancing models of care, or improving clinical practice. The innovations born from rigorous scientific investigation are what ultimately translates into improved patient experience. And again, it's something that we've all known, those of us that have been around for a while. I was just saying to our guest speaker, I've been a GP for 30 years, which makes me feel really old. But it's the research. We used to do stuff that was not only helpful, it was probably a bit harmful. And so it's so good to know that over that time, with the research and the evidence, that we're stopping doing things that are harmful and looking at ways of doing things that, you know, are less harmful to people and actually do help improve their quality of life. Although sometimes they don't like it, because sometimes you say, well, I can't do anything, you'll get better by yourself. But we try our best. We do no harm. I think it's important. It's essential that we foster an environment where curiosity thrives and where collaboration between researchers, clinicians and patients is encouraged and celebrated. And it's a great thing to look forward to, think we can work together, and it's much, much more fun than sitting there working by yourself. Bench to bedside research is crucial for transforming healthcare as it bridges the gap between research evidence and practical patient care. It's a process that involves translating the findings from research studies, which, you know, the bench, and putting them into effective treatments, therapies and practices in clinical settings at the bedside. The significance of this research lies in several key areas. Advancing clinical knowledge. It fosters innovation by developing new therapies, service models and clinical care that can improve patient outcomes. Enhancing patient care by turning research findings into clinical applications. We can offer our community the latest and most effective treatments, leading to better health and quality of life. And also making it a bit more efficient, because at the end of this too, we've got to be more efficient because we know that there's a limited healthcare dollar that we can spend. There's limited funds that people can spend on themselves. So being able to, you know, do effective, efficient treatment is also really important. Interdisciplinary collaboration is an approach that encourages collaborations amongst researchers, clinicians, and most of all, the patients, promoting a comprehensive understanding of health challenges and more effective solutions. So there's no point giving someone a solution if it doesn't, you know, resonate with them and it's not something that they would like to do or could do. Responding to health needs, it allows for rapid responses to emerging health crises. So that, you know, the great example of that was during COVID and that rapid rollout of the vaccines. Imagine what a bit of money can do. So the research was there, the technology was there, we just needed the need and the money and the resources to be able to then to do it so quickly, which really did shock the community a little bit. They didn't have a lot of faith in that, but there's so much out there just waiting for the opportunity to come forward. Continuous improvement, ongoing research ensures that healthcare practices evolve based on the latest scientific evidence, ultimately leading to a more efficient and effective healthcare system, as mentioned. In summary, bench to bedside research is vital. It's vital for driving innovation. It's vital for enhancing patient care and ensuring that healthcare continues to improve in response to new challenges and opportunities, and also to the changing nature of our communities. You know, we really have to take into account when we do our research, what might work for one community might not work for another. And again, that brings me back to Jason's welcome. It's about doing it together and making sure we involve everyone across that cross-section of community. Research plays a vital role in ensuring we provide safe, quality-based care on the best available evidence. We review research as a core service within Bendigo Health, and this is something the board is very much dedicated to. We want research to be one of our strengths and one of our strategic pillars. Through our strategic planning, we've identified research as a key area for development, for support, promotion, both internally and externally. It's great for our clinicians because it's really satisfying to know that you're doing something, making a change, extending yourself, learning more, being able to go out of your normal day-to-day routine and to do things that are different, and it's great for the community. While we're in the early stages of this planning process, the board and executive are committed to positioning Bendigo Health as a regional hub of research excellence. And we're so well placed with our we've got a big community here, we've got a great hospital, we've got fantastic clinicians, we've got good relationships with different academic posts, we've got the universities here as well, so we can only continue to grow. This is essential for addressing current and future health challenges, so it's indispensable for us to have a robust healthcare system. Our vision at Bendigo Health is to provide excellent care every person, every time. We can only achieve this through basing our practice on the best available research evidence. Our aim is to generate and translate research evidence into improved health outcomes that matter to the community. So there's no point doing it unless we can actually make something that is important to people. Our commitment to research is ultimately a commitment to our patients, to ensure that patients get an improved quality of life. So that is the important thing, is that the outcome is meaningful for our patients and our community. Today's research showcase will highlight some of the ways we are doing that. This event is a great opportunity to celebrate our achievements and to showcase the diverse range of research being taken at Bendigo Health to enhance patient care. We've got great speakers today, and with our keynote presentation from Linda Brown, who I welcome here today, the Director of Translational Research, Clinical Trials, Strategic Projects and Response at Safer Care Victoria. I'm also looking forward to the community engagement session, and I want to encourage you all to have your say, to ask questions, to share your thoughts and ideas. We'd like you to do that during the session, but also make the most of the opportunities at morning tea, at lunchtime, when you're chatting to the person next to you, because this is great. You'll get some great ideas and great thoughts, so it's fantastic to share that. We have 18 oral presentations from our passionate clinical researchers and our academic partners. These presentations reflect the diverse needs of our community and subsequently the diversity of our research addressing their needs. So we've got lots on cancer, because that's often, everyone goes, oh, it's cancer again for research, but it's really important because it's in great need. But we're also looking at research around heart health, around exercise and around children. So it's a fantastic diversity here today, and that's excellent. We also have a vibrant display of research posters up in the learning space too, over in that other building, where you'll be having your breaks. Please explore the posters, have a look and vote for your favourite. You have to think about what you want to vote on. Is it the one that looks the nicest? Is it someone you know? Or is it research where you think this is really meaningful, it resonates with me, it's going to make a great difference, and I think these people have done some fantastic work. And then go home and, or go back to work and talk to other people about what you've seen, because that might get other people's ideas going and enthuse them to do a bit more too. So the poster with the most votes will be awarded the best poster, and the winner will be announced at the conclusion of today's showcase. That'll be exciting. While you're enjoying your refreshments in the learning space area, take some time to look at the information hubs. It's a great space, it's looking fantastic. The information hubs are set up around the room. There's also speak to our sponsors. So I'd really like to thank our sponsors today from Trial Docs and Walters Kluwer. And our wonderful supporters from Regional Clinical Trials Coordinating Centre and the Victorian Comprehensive Cancer Centre Alliance. We thank you for your support and engagement today. As you enjoy the showcase today, let us celebrate the accomplishments and learn from the challenges. I'd also like to take this time to thank the team that has put this together. They've been working on this all year. They're very passionate passionate and dedicated. It's been a big labour of love and a lot of work. So thank you very much to the research team and the quality team who helped put this event together, and for everyone who's wanted to come along and share their experiences and their knowledge. So thank you for joining us today. Thanks for your interest in research and commitment into improving health outcomes, and for making that difference to our community. It really means a lot, and from the board we'd like to extend that thank you to you all. Hope you have a great day, and I hope you really enjoy it.
Thanks so much, Ava, and it's great to have the board support here for our research and ongoing as always for the showcase. So I will go straight to our keynote speaker, and we've been really fortunate, so excited to have you here, Linda. As you know, as Eva just said, Linda Brown's the Director of Translational Research, Clinical Trials, Strategic Projects and Response at Safer Care Victoria. Try and fit that on a business card. It's a very big title, but we're very grateful for your support of our showcase and of our research as always. So Linda's been merging interests in governance, strategy and clinical research for over 20 years. She commenced in the role of the Director, I won't repeat all of that, at Safer Care Victoria in February this year. In the role, Linda engages with a broad range and a myriad of stakeholders, including researchers and clinicians, to forge opportunities for collaboration across the sector. She's an invited member of a range of stakeholder committees across the state and the jurisdictional representative on the Intergovernmental Policy Reform Group, chaired by the former Chief Scientist, Professor Ian Chubb, working to revolutionise the clinical research landscape across Australia. So prior to this role, Linda was the National Manager of 2 national member-based clinical trial collaboratives based at the University of Technology, Sydney. So we're rapt to have Linda agree to present here today and to share her expertise and experience in partnerships and collaboration, maximising translational research and clinical trials to change lives in regional communities. Please welcome Linda Brown.
Good morning, everyone. I think, Eva, you've said most of what I was going to say anyway about translational research, but thank you very much for the warm welcome. It's a real privilege to be here today. I know Jason did a fabulous welcome to a country. I'd also like to acknowledge country we're on here today and the strength, power and resilience of the Aboriginal people as members of the world's oldest living culture. I recognise Aboriginal people as Australia's first people and honour the richness and diversity of all traditional owners across Victoria, including the Dja Dja Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, whose country we're on here today. I respect the law, customs and languages practised by Aboriginal people in Victoria and their deep spiritual and cultural connections to land and water. I pay my deepest respects to ancestors, elders and leaders past and present whose strength and fortitude have paved the way for future generations. I thought I'd start this morning just giving a bit of background to Safer Care Victoria and my role. Well, 2 elements of my role. It is a long title. I do acknowledge that, and no, I don't have business cards, but particularly around the clinical trials and translational research piece, which is really where my passion lies. So Safer Care is an administrative office of the Department of Health and is Victoria's leading authority on quality and safety in healthcare. SCV operates independently but alongside the department, reporting directly to the departmental secretary. It commenced in 2017, being founded on the recommendations of the Targeting Zero report that was developed in response to patient safety concerns. Our vision is clear: a safer healthcare system for all Victorians. We work closely with clinicians, consumers and health services to monitor and enhance the quality and safety of care delivered throughout Victoria's healthcare system. Safer Care Victoria has 4 branches, being Safety, Improvement, Operations and the Clinical and Professional Leadership Unit. Safety branch leads reviews of adverse and sentinel events. It responds to safety risks and works to understand data and identify areas to improve. The Improvement branch drives targeted projects and training, ensuring the consumer voice is central to enable continuous system improvement and innovation. My team are based in the Clinical and Professional Leadership Unit. We work closely with the chiefs, particularly the Chief Medical Officer, Professor Andrew Wilson. Collectively, the chiefs provide expert advice to current and emerging issues and champion key projects. As Ange mentioned in the intro, I commenced in Safer Care Victoria in February this year after only a few months in the department, prior to a machinery of government or MOG process, which saw the Health and Medical Research branch rehoused, with medical research going to the Department of Jobs, Skills, Industry and Regions, and the Translational Research and Clinical Trials moving with me to Safer Care Victoria. Being that a considerable amount of health-related research is conducted in our health system, I have seen this move as an opportunity to focus on working with my health colleagues to improve collaboration. In the words of Professor Don Nutbeam from the University of Sydney, translational research does what it says on the tin. It translates research into practice and policy. It's focused on converting basic scientific discoveries, as Eva mentioned, into practical applications that directly benefit human health and well-being. Often described as bench to bedside, the approach aims to bridge the gap between research and clinical practice. At SCV, we want to support and partner with researchers and health services to translate research findings into practice that will improve our healthcare system. We are committed to engaging, partnering and improving the way we collaborate to see this realised. 2 years ago, the Department of Health published 9 translational research priorities, developed through a consultative process that saw researchers and members of the Victorian community come together. These priorities are aimed at addressing key health or health system problems. They seek to address disparity in priority populations and communities and reflect real-world patient and consumer needs. There are several initiatives underway as part of this program of work, including the development of supporting policy such as intellectual property and authorship, the piloting of a PhD fellowship program with 4 candidates in place and another 2 to be placed, and 2 of these candidates are based in regional Victoria. The renewal of the priorities themselves, recognising that these will change over time, and through an exciting new initiative that is currently under development and which I'm very excited to be co-leading with the Chief Medical Officer, the establishment of a Health Research Victoria network. This initiative plans to take a strategic lens to research engagement across Safer Care Victoria and the Department of Health to support and enhance collaboration and partnering with the sector. Victoria is a premier location for research and clinical trials in Australia, and we are recognised as an international leader. This year, the Victorian health and medical researchers have received over 40% of the available National Health and Medical Research Council's competitive funding pot, which is the highest national share. The Coordinating Office for Clinical Trials Research supports research conducted across the state by providing ERM, the statewide platform for ethics, a range of training and educational activities, events and promotion, including a regular e-bulletin. The Office also supports regional Victorian sites to implement the National Clinical Trial Governance Framework and to prepare for accreditation. And it is one of 6 state and territory partners in taking clinical trials to the regions through the Australian Teletrials project. The National Clinical Trial Governance Framework was introduced in May last year to integrate the governance of clinical trials within a health services governance systems, and in doing so, embedding clinical trials into routine healthcare. The framework aligns with the National Safety and Quality Healthcare Standards, which are a set of guidelines developed by the Australian Commission on Safety and Quality in Healthcare. These aim to protect the public from harm and improve the quality of healthcare across Australia. It is now mandatory for health services that conduct clinical trials to be assessed against the framework and to always be compliant with the standards. The framework strengthens clinical trial activities within health services by providing clarity of responsibilities and outcomes to all stakeholders. Whilst we know that integrating research into clinical practice allows health services to develop new treatments and refine existing ones, as well as to help address workforce shortages. Engaging research also offers clinicians professional development opportunities and enhances job satisfaction. Upskilling the workforce is a goal of the Victorian Comprehensive Cancer Centre's Skilled Internship Program that provides graduates with a pathway into clinical trials, specifically designed to build study coordinators and clinical trial assistants. Interns undertake structured competency-based training with on-site assistance, with on-site experience in clinical trial units. 40% of the interns enrolled to date have completed their placements across 8 regional centres, and more than 2/3 of the cohort have gained employment in the regions upon completion of this course. For me, embedding research into healthcare is a key to continuing to improve the lives of those near and dear, and this is where it gets very personal. My partner Tim has an autoimmune disease, psoriatic dermatitis and psoriatic arthritis. In 1995, Tim noticed his nails discolouring, followed by excessive skin growth on his fingers, elbows and knees. Over the next few years, his condition worsened, with his thumbs and fingers weeping and bleeding. This was followed about 5 years later with him experiencing severe pain in his knuckles and joints in general. Tim tried to hide his hands using his pockets and avoiding handshakes. Occasionally, the excessive skin spread to his face, ears and neck, making it impossible to conceal. At the time, Tim owned a wine sales business, which included retail outlets and online sales, as well as promotional events. He tried every treatment available, including many unconventional therapies that could only be described as old wives' tales. Topical cortisone was his mainstay, but nothing provided lasting relief. His disease spread to his neck and shoulders, making it difficult to get out of bed or drive due to the pain and limited movement. He relied on his GP for medical advice. He was hesitant to see a rheumatologist, believing that he had explored every treatment available. At 53, 25 years after his initial diagnosis, a friend's wife, who worked for a pharmaceutical company, urged him to go and see a rheumatologist, mentioning that new treatments were becoming available. Tim finally made an appointment and was put on a treatment plan that included methotrexate and corticosteroids. When these treatments again failed, he then became eligible for a new specialised treatment. Within weeks of his first immunotherapy injection, he'd started to notice improvements. His skin began to heal and the pain in his neck decreased. Within months, his skin had fully healed and many of his symptoms had disappeared. He's been on monthly injections since and now only experiences mild joint pain. While he'll never be cured, his current treatment has been life-changing. It took 16 years of research and clinical trials for his treatment to become available. Tim's condition wasn't life-threatening, but it was extremely life-limiting. Whilst Tim was not on a clinical trial, He has benefited from the many people who did participate in trials that led to the registration and availability of the treatment that he is now prescribed. So how do we provide more equitable clinical trial access across the state? There are almost 1.6 million Victorians, or 1/5 of the population, including, I expect, many people in this room, who reside in regional areas. We know that people living in regional and rural Victoria experience several disadvantages, including poorer health outcomes and barriers to clinical trial access compared to people living in Melbourne. I'd like to share with you now a real success story in the developing landscape of clinical trial delivery in regional Victoria. Staying on diseases of the skin, atopic dermatitis, or eczema, is a severe skin disorder causing itching and red blotches, typically on the face, arms and legs. Like Tim's dermatitis, eczema impacts health, social functioning, psychological well-being and quality of life. In Gippsland, there's no public dermatology service, forcing patients to travel to Melbourne for specialist treatment and access to clinical trials. However, with the support of the Alfred's Trial Hub program and a partnership with the Alfred's dermatology team, the Latrobe Regional Hospital has opened the region's first dermatology clinical trial. The trial, Evaluate a Medication for Moderate to Severe Eczema, is the first of its kind in a non-metro hospital globally. It uses the teletrial model, allowing hospitals to collaborate and deliver the same trial across multiple locations. This model enables regional and rural patients to access trials closer to home, reducing the need for long-distance travel and for every trial visit. Latrobe Regional Hospital seized the opportunity by upskilling local staff, including a general medicine physician and 2 clinical trial coordinators, with support from the Alfred and the trial sponsor. Training included achieving 100% concordance in skin scoring between the Latrobe staff and the Alfred team via telehealth. Trial Hub played a crucial role in this initiative, facilitating the introduction of the Latrobe staff to the principal investigator and assisting with trial start-up activities. They helped overcome challenges of indemnity and trial drugs and drug delivery, leading to changes in the sponsor's approach to shipping trial drugs to both sites. I understand that LRH are now exploring the possibility of opening a local dermatology outreach service as a result of this upskilling. Over the past 7 years, we've seen considerable investment from both state and Commonwealth services to build clinical trial capability and capacity throughout regional Victoria. This investment has supported 4 main initiatives, being Trial Hub, as I've already touched on, the Regional Trials Network and Revitalise, the VCCC's teletrial program and establishment of the Regional Oncology Leads, and the Australian Teletrials program. Trial Hub has sought to build a sustainable program through established partnerships with outreach health services to expand the reach of and participation in clinical trials. Their remit and particular focus is on rare cancers, rare diseases, prostate cancer and melanoma. The Regional Trials Network, or RTN, focuses on increasing the number of high-quality cancer clinical trials in regional Victoria through driving connection, collaboration and support. Revitalise, or the Regional Victorian Trials Alliance, seeks to provide better cancer outcomes for regional patients through bridging the metro regional trials gap. The @Research website provides comprehensive resources to build research capacity and foster networks among regional health professionals. And the VCCC are changing the way that they tackle cancer across Victoria. They have developed a comprehensive teletrial toolkit and an intern program mentioned earlier. And if you want to know more, please see Chris, because she knows all about it. The regional oncology leads actively represent the regions to expand cancer clinical trials and foster educational activities. Each program has worked to reduce the duplication of activities of all 4 programs And all 4 programs are now members of the Victorian Teletrials Collaborative, working together and aligned with this shared purpose. Today I want to highlight the Australian Teletrials Program, or ATP, a groundbreaking initiative that's transforming the clinical trial landscape and delivery across our country. This program brings clinical trials closer to the home of patients in rural, regional and remote areas. It allows patients to stay connected with their families, communities and their local healthcare providers, ensuring they receive the support they need right where they live. Equitable access is at the heart of this program. It ensures that all Australians, regardless of their location, can participate in clinical trials and access new therapies, and by minimising the need for long-distance travel. The Australian Teletrial Program objectives include expanding the reach of clinical trials in Australia, developing Australia's clinical trials workforce, building a more interconnected clinical trials system, and ultimately working to close the gap in health outcomes for all Australians. It is funded by a Medical Research Future Fund grant from the Rural, Regional and Remote Clinical Trialling Enabling Infrastructure Fund. The program is underpinned by the national scaling of the Australasian teletrial model. This model is a form of decentralised trial model, which enables 2 or more sites working together in a cluster to offer clinical trials locally using telehealth and other supervised trial activities. The grant funding awarded nationally is $75.2 million over 5 years. Victoria has received $11.7 million of this, which supports 2 staff at Safer Care Victoria that assist with statewide project management, training and connectivity. 7 regional health services who each employ trial coordinators, 2 regional located study startup specialists and 1 clinical trial lead. There is also funding for teletrial support payments, which are made directly to participating sites upon opening and recruiting to teletrials. There are 6 jurisdictional partners on this grant across the country, which has proven challenging at times, given the variation in the delivery of health service across regional Australia and the vast geographic regions. This roadmap shows the journey of a typical clinical trial, from initial signing of confidentiality agreements between the sponsor and the health service through to the approval at the health service to open the trial. You can see here that usual clinical trial activity is depicted in the dark green, with the teletrial specific activity in the light aqua colour. To date, most teletrials have arisen through the conversion of traditional trials to allow at least 2 sites, a primary and 1 or more satellite sites, working together with the trial sponsor to convert the trial to a teletrial. The conversion requires considerable discussion between the parties and on understanding of the activities that can be safely undertaken at each of the participating sites. Once there is agreement of the roles and activities of each site, these are documented in a supervision plan and a subcontract is put in place. As there are 2 health services involved, research governance authorisation is needed at both sites, and I can hear everybody moaning in the room, and it is recommended that these reviews are carried out in parallel. All the usual post-approval activities then occur in preparation for the green light to open the trial. At a whole of project level, the ATP has seen over 4,000 individuals working across the clinical trial landscape, trained to build awareness of the program and provide information on the teletrial model. There have been more than 1,000 participants recruited to over 55 trials in regional and remote Australia. Noting that the teletrial model was developed by members of the peak cancer professional body, the Clinical Oncology Society of Australia, it's not unexpected that oncology trials are leading the way in this space. And this data is reflected at our halfway mark. As we strive to make clinical trials more accessible through each of these programs, we also need to acknowledge that there have been many barriers and hurdles, but these often spark incredible ingenuity and problem-solving mindsets. Firstly, the implementation of the National Clinical Governance Framework presented somewhat of a timing clash, particularly with the ATP rollout. Whilst the introduction of the framework is welcomed, it also presented additional challenges for the limited number of trial sites in the regions. Secondly, uncertainty about the model and teletrials in general and who to seek information from at both a national and state level has been a major hurdle. There are now defined governance structures in place to reduce this confusion, and the lines of communication between the programs is improving. Workforce and resource limitations are a continuing reality for all regional health services who struggle to maintain a skilled workforce. And lastly, as we saw in the roadmap, there is a need for genuine partnership between sponsors and health services early on in the trial life cycle. Addressing these barriers is essential for the continued expansion of teletrials across the country. So let's take a moment and imagine a future where systems are connected, they are efficient, they allow for one entry of information that is available safely, securely and appropriately to many end users. The National One-Stop Shop is a transformative initiative by the Australian Federal Government designed to create a centralised platform for health-related human research in Australia. The platform will streamline the approval and reporting processes for clinical trials, making it easier for patients, researchers and a range of stakeholders to access and conduct clinical research. In May this year, the Federal Government announced $18.8 million to support this initiative. And in September, they released an expression of interest for groups to get involved in building and hosting the platform. There are many elements to this project that needs to effectively bring together, including cross-jurisdictional ethics, approval and site-specific authorisation that incorporates the notification schemes administered by the Therapeutic Goods Administration, an embedded national registry, research management functionality with monitoring and reporting capability for a range of different users, and a national website to enable the community to search and filter information relevant to them. Through this infrastructure, Australians will benefit from improved access to a much larger and more organised research and clinical trials sector, irrespective of where they live. Clinical trials are complex. They have lots of moving parts, and the pathways to opening a trial, as I'm sure some of you know, can be long and winding. It's also important to note that trials that fail to recruit add to health system waste. Recognising the importance of the supporting environment that reduces the potential for harm, we need champions at every level to drive engagement in clinical trials. So for any of you who may be uncertain about participating in clinical trials, here's a snapshot of the safeguards that ensure the highest level of integrity and patient safety. At a national level, we have the regulatory oversight through the Therapeutic Goods Administration. The National Health and Medical Research Council's Code for Ethical Conduct of Research mandates that all research must be approved by an ethics committee, ensuring ethical conduct and scientific rigour. All clinical trials must adhere to international standards of good clinical practice, protecting participants' rights, safety and well-being. Before starting on a trial, patients receive comprehensive information about the trial, including potential risks and benefits, ensuring that they can make an informed decision. Importantly, this consent can be revoked at any time without affecting their regular healthcare, so that patients can be assured that safety is continuously monitored. Adverse events are closely tracked and reported and assessed promptly. Lastly, the National Clinical Trial Governance Framework ensures that clinical trial activities are now embedded and part of the Health Services governance structure that includes local oversight of all trial activities. I'd like to finish with this quote from a clinical trial participant here at Bendigo Health. Rob from Deniliquin was referred to the oncology team after tests confirmed he had an aggressive carcinoma. Initial treatment with radiation and chemotherapy saw Rob's cancer successfully treated. However, almost a year after being diagnosed, routine scans confirmed his cancer was back. Rob was offered an immunotherapy trial, which has since resulted in his cancer being currently undetectable and he's now in follow-up care. In Rob's words, we need to make sure regional and rural people know about clinical trials and continue to have them available locally. There are many benefits of clinical trials at an individual, community and health system level, and these will only be realised if we take up the challenge to champion and advocate for clinical trials. So if you're a patient, ask your treating clinician about clinical trial options that may be suitable for you. As a clinician, build your awareness of what clinical trials are available at your health service and be a connector. If you participate in a clinical trial, tell your story using social media and community platforms to share your experiences like Rob has. Should you be faced with serious health concerns, consider joining advocacy groups and connect with organisations that support clinical research in that disease. And educate yourself, your family and your friends to learn more about clinical trials. Trial Hub have developed this short video available online via YouTube so that you can also ask Siri to learn more about clinical trials. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Linda, and that was a great summary and overview of lots of different very complex programs I know that are run nationally and statewide that are really bringing trials closer to home and improving care and access for our regional community, so I really appreciate that. Now, for something a little bit different. This session is called Community Engagement Session, and I do welcome members of our community here today, as well as our staffing groups, academic partners and supporters. We're going to try something a bit different, and hopefully my Slido will actually work. I'm always nervous when it comes to technology, but Joe's in control, and I'm sure that you will all have a mobile phone with you. And if we can put up the Slido QR code, so you can either scan the QR code or join at slido.com using that code. Let us know if there's any issues and the team will come around and troubleshoot them with you. But let me know when you've or if there's any issues. Hopefully you can all get it from there. If not, there is a printed QR code that the very organised Tara has kindly printed out for us. How are people going? You can access the survey. It's just a few quick questions that I thought we'd go through, and I'll give you a few minutes to do that on your phones individually, and then we'll go through some results. show the results. So there's still a few responses coming in, but I can see most, 55% of our attendees here today. Oh, excellent, thanks, Joe. Bendigo Health staff. If we just go back to that other one, there's no. How many research projects were undertaken at Bendigo Health last year? Who got the correct answer? Oh, 32% said 51 to 100. The correct answer is 151 to 200. So we actually had... Congratulations to the 20% of the audience who got that correct. So N equals 157. So it might surprise you, no, and that's a combination of clinical... Oh, that's another question, nearly gave it away, whoops. How many different departments are actively involved in research across Bendigo Health? Majority went for 11 to 20, 37%, 21 to 30, 0 to 10. So 37% were correct. We currently have 24 different departments across Bendigo Health conducting active research projects. Oh, this was almost a tricky one. 40%, 51 to 100. Ooh, very good. 101 to 150. The correct answer, and it's almost 40% and 31, because the correct answer of Bendigo Health staff who authored or co-authored publications last year is 101. So I'll forgive you if you said 51 to 100, but the correct answer is 101 to 150, which is a fabulous, fabulous outcome from our clinician researchers. What type of research is conducted at Bendigo Health? Is that 91% are correct? That's all of the above, and it is. We do a lot of health research, social science, clinical trials and clinical research. There's also data linkage and registry trials and studies as well. So all of the above, well done. The next one was a word cloud, and I'm really interested. What we really want to do here at Bendigo Health is really actively engage with our community in setting the program for our research. We want community input into our research information that we provide, into our resources, into our studies, into making sure that we are actually hitting the mark, meeting the needs of our community. So we will actually use this word cloud for, and thank you for putting forward what you think should be a focus for research at Bendigo Health. We'll most certainly be looking at that. And I see women's healthcare is the main area, but there is lots of different areas there that we're really interested in taking forward. So thank you very much. And then what is the role of a Human Research Ethics Committee? 100% of you were correct. Give yourselves a round of applause. That's right. And look, the main purpose is to protect the welfare and rights of participants at all times. But certainly, you know, we do have, as we said before, 157 active research projects at Bendigo Health. They all go through ethics and governance processes. And, you know, the workload is enormous, but it makes sure that our community is their rights and welfare are protected, and we know that it's really robust scientific research that is going to generate meaningful outcomes for our community. So the role of the Human Research Ethics Committee is just critical to our research. Which is why I'm now absolutely delighted to ask Merrin Davis to come up and join me for this session. Merrin is a member of the Bendigo Health Ethics Committee. She actually is a community representative on that committee, and she has also taken on the role previously and now back for a brief stint in our Research Governance Office. It's great to have Merrin back here. We're just going to go through a little bit around what the Ethics Committee is and does, have a bit of a chat, and feel free to ask questions. I'd really love an interactive program today, and we're not here to talk at you, we're here to share with you. So please feel free to ask questions at any time. But I will start by grilling Merrin mercilessly. And we'll see if these microphones work, Merrin.
Hello, can you, yeah.
Oh, excellent.
We actually have a prepared script. This is not spontaneous.
So, and as we... Is it working? Yes. I always want to sing and dance when I hold a microphone. You know, it's really hard not to, isn't it? But, no? Just me? Okay. Okay. So, Merrin, we know a lot of research is undertaken across Bendigo Health, and it is aimed at improving health outcomes for our community. And all that research goes through the Human Research Ethics Committee. All research at Bendigo Health must receive both ethics and governance approval before it can commence. And that all goes through the committee. So who is the
That is
Bendigo
correct, Angela.
Health Committee? Yes. What's the guidelines around membership? Who's on it? And tell us all about it.
So most of the people here, if you are researchers, you're pretty well aware of the national statement, which basically sets out about the membership of an ethics committee. And the idea behind that is pretty much just to support what we've already heard this morning about scientific integrity, about protection of participants and so on. And so there's a really interesting balance in an ethics committee that basically bring in the professional clinicians, the practitioners and so on. But then you also have the legal experts. You have the who will basically be casting their eye over the proposals for the whether it stands up in terms of, you know, the legal sort of status of the participants and so on. So briefly, who you have on a standard committee would be, you have a chair, you have two people who are lay people, and we'll come back to that. They are the consumers. You have at least two members with current research experience relevant to the proposals that are going to be before them. At least one member with experience in professional care, and that might be a nurse, allied health professional and so on. At least one member with spiritual background, so that would be pastoral care. It could be, say, an Aboriginal elder, it could be a minister or so on. And as I said, the lawyer. So you've got this mix, and it's the mix that's really important, because you don't have any one area dominant. And what we're going to be talking about is the community side, which ultimately, when you really think about it, is probably the most important in the whole committee.
So, can you tell us a little bit more about the role of the consumer representatives on the committee, please?
Certainly can, Angela. Yes.
Not scripted it.
So the role of the community is basically, we've just gone through who else is on there, and who else is on there are the sort of, you know, the in most medical committees, you will have the medical practitioners, you've got the professionals, the legal people, etc., etc. Who the consumers are, they are the non-specialists. And so they're the ones who are actually bringing to bear the perspective of the people who might actually be participating in the research. And so often when you find a new layperson coming on the committee, there will be a little bit of intimidation because they will be surrounded by all of these people who have the qualifications, these great sort of, these skills, etc., etc. But what's really important from the consumer point of view is that the consumer also casts their eye over the proposal, and they're the ones who are actually putting themselves in the shoes of the participants. And how is this going to work for me? How are they doing that? What is this information statement? Does this make sense to me? Is this very technical, etc., etc.? So they bring to bear an enormously important, I suppose, quality control and safety control in the process of the approval. And ultimately, what that does mean is that when a participant signs up, you can be pretty well assured that consent has been secured because it is understood. And that's a really important part of the process too.
Yeah. It would be daunting, sitting on a committee with all those other representatives around and, even some of the jargon. I'm thinking of some of the protocols that I've written and submitted to an ethics committee and, it's acronym city, isn't it? We're always using acronyms and a bit of jargon. But so, what skills and qualities and experience and all would a consumer representative have or need to be part of that committee?
I think that's a really interesting one, because what you aim for, I suppose, in a committee is you want to bring to bear a range of skills, so you will want a bit of a balance anyway. But I think across the board, you would not find a human research ethics committee that did not function in a way where they really encouraged a lot of communication and a lot of talk and a lot of very inclusive shared talk about a project. So a really basic skill that you would be looking for in a community representative would be a willingness to talk and to make your voice heard, and also a willingness to listen and to take on board other people's views too, because you're really going for not necessarily always consensus, but you want to talk through the whole project until you get to a point where people feel satisfied that the committee has come to a view. So that's a very basic personal sort of I suppose, quality that you'd be looking at. The other one would be, and then I see down the list of our impromptu questions, we're going to talk about workload and so on. So there would be a willingness to be able to read some of these technical proposals and engage with them. And if you're not clear, just basically work with it. We are so much better off these days when we have Dr. Google and so on than when I first started on ethics committees, where I was told by the chair that I should invest in a good medical dictionary that was about that and work from there. We don't need to do that nearly so much these days.
Well, that is a relief. I can imagine. I did have a medical dictionary myself. I think we all probably did, or am I showing my age? It was about this thick and...
Yep, probably the same one.
That was almost impossible. I had written down here, why do you think it's important to have consumer representatives on the HREC? I think you've certainly highlighted some of those points. I mean, we know that it is incredibly important. Is there any... I
think, just I suppose it's it's a reminder, and sometimes it's a reality check for not just researchers, but also the specialists in the room who sometimes, if in committee, our specialists are so engaged with the proposal, like, fantastic, so they can do this, etc. And isn't that really, that's an innovative way of doing it, etc. And the consumers will come in and say, yeah, but how about the participants, and what's the participant? Basically, how are they being engaged, etc., etc. So there is I suppose, everyone brings to bear their own kind of skills, where our statistician might be really focused on the statistical power of something, where the consumer representative might be more engaged with, well, how, perhaps it's something about the recruitment process that means you are not going to get to that level of statistical, sort of viability.
Very different focus, I would think. And I know that all of the HREC members volunteer their time, and I know that it does take up quite a bit of time, but how much time do members, and particularly consumer members, dedicate to the HREC? And because of the time factor, why do they do it?
Well, last question first. I think people really engage with it. They do enjoy it. It's one of the things that you do find a good HREC is a very good community, and it's great to be part of a community like that. There is something about a community that models that kind of inclusive way of dealing with an issue and finding a conclusion that's incredibly, I think, very positive, and people get a lot out of that. People also invariably are really working together to try to support and improve research. And that's why they sign up, basically. It's the primary reason. So people have really different reasons for engaging with something like a committee like this. It could be that they've had a good experience with Bendigo Health. I know when I first started in a different ethics role at the Royal Women's, it was partly giving back for a particularly, powerful experience that I'd had there, and wanting to work with them. So they are, it's very much supportive of research, but also wanting to make sure that the patient experience is as strong and positive as it can be too.
I'm just reflecting, because it's very similar to some of the reasons participants go on clinical trials, isn't it? It's for the greater good, and because of an experience. I'm not sure how many community members are here today. I think they'll come and go like everyone always does at these sort of showcases. But what's the key message you would give to someone who would be considering being a consumer representative on the Bendigo Health Ethics Committee?
I would be strongly urging them to consider it. No, we do. We always overfill the community positions at Bendigo for good reason. We, at the moment, are looking at a minor recruitment drive quite soon. So if anyone has in their network somebody who they think might be really great, that would be terrific. And please either pass on information or reach out to us in some way. I think the key message would be it would be really helpful to talk to somebody who was in the role, but it's a powerful experience. It's very, it's intellectually challenging. It's engaging. You know that you are doing something that's very that's important and helpful, and I think people get a lot out of feeling that they have made, you know, a contribution, and you learn a lot. You learn so much as a community member. I suppose the other thing is that a lot of the community members too have a real focus in Bendigo on, say, the regional access side, and so they are really pushing sort of inclusion as a real theme with their scrutiny of research. I think it is also worth pointing out that currently, and ever since 1920 for obvious reasons, we've been a Zoom meeting, which means in some ways it's been really lucky because we've been able to extend our reach, and we have, I suppose, we're now accessible to people further up towards the Murray and so on, and we're not so Bendigo-centric. And that's incredibly important too for a region like this, where you have so many people who are remote, who are also interested in research.
Yeah, I know you said earlier one of the members couldn't come today because they're up
in Mildura, yeah.
Questions for Merrin? Yes, Linda. Oh, sorry, we just need to give you a mic so that we can hear on the recording.
Thank you. I was just wondering if you might tell us all about what training you do with your consumer members, please.
Yeah, we do. Our training is interesting. It's a bit customised to the people themselves. We had recently, a couple of years ago, we actually enrolled one of our new consumer members into the RMIT whole diploma unit, and she has been working her way through that very, very well. We do have, every year we have 2 members go off to the Monash-sponsored, yeah, you're aware of the one that's over at Hepburn, which is a sort of like a research intensive, which is always something that we encourage people to not go to straight away, but wait at least a year, and then they get so much out of it. It's they come back incredibly fired up. We buddy up our new members with a more experienced one. And one of the things that this committee does, because we are a regional, I suppose, HREC, looking at a lot of single site, low risk projects, we do a lot of panel work, and the new members buddy up with a more experienced one to work their way through, say, a panel investigation that is not within the meeting, but will be done sort of in their time. And those sorts of things are enormously good as training as well, because there's a lot of toing and froing there, including from the Research Governance Office as well. Yeah.
Hi, I have a comment first. As a clinical trials coordinator for a very long time, I think, you know, we present an 18-page participant information and consent form to our very sick, sometimes, you know, potentially terminally ill participants. And I don't think that document is worth the paper it's written on unless a meaningful conversation comes along with it with the doctor. So I would love to see more engagement with the Research and Ethics Committee and clinicians, to be honest. I think if a complex project comes your way, having a person, you know, the principal investigator present to the committee is just so valuable. I sat on a research ethics committee at Eastern Health many years ago, and we had, really complex protocols. So having the person in the room with another clinician of that discipline, say an oncologist, to me is just invaluable. So that's what I'd really like to see, that engagement with clinicians, so that you know that the doctor isn't just going, how many times do we hear as researchers, I trust you? The patient goes, I trust you. And we say, no, you're obliged to read it. What's your understanding of the protocol? So I think that gives, I don't know, that's just my comment. The other question is, do you have diverse representation on the committee, or are you considering it in terms of culturally and linguistically diverse populations, the LGBTQI community?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as far as the representation goes, we are actively looking, but I would say that we have somebody who is, she is not from a diverse background, but she has worked in those areas. That's as far, and that is her role. She will always be pushing that as, or her own sort of work background in meeting and whatever. But those are really important, and it raises another question too that is often raised by the community reps in committee, which is the I suppose the limitations on a lot of projects here and elsewhere as well, where culturally and linguistically diverse people are excluded because, it's survey heavy, or it's, when we don't have the money for the translators, et cetera, and these are issues that are raised by the consumer representative and otherwise would not be, but it goes back in terms of feedback, but it's something that I think, we all should be so aware of, because this is a diverse community, and I'm not sure sometimes whether we're picking up on some of that. Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot to be said for Zoom. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, thank you very much for really opening up the world about ethics. I'm following up on that question about patient information consent forms. Have you explored other ways of which that information can be displayed in a more accessible way? And I think this is coming to, not everyone can read the form, they do not understand the form, they're signing because they trust who's given them the form. I've just seen some examples where they're using a lot of easy English, a lot of imagery to kind of help get points across. So I was just wondering if you've considered that as a committee. Thank you.
Well, when we have had some come before us that are focusing on those things, and sometimes that's completely sensible and appropriate. It may be, there are a whole number of reasons why you might be looking at having simplified forms. We have been looking at a project dealing with, say, cognitive impairment, and you still, you're wanting people to understand what's going on, and on that basis, this particular form used a lot of graphics, a lot of simplified, information, et cetera. So those sorts of things, I think we really encourage, because you're looking at that notion of informed consent rather than just, you're ticking the boxes.
Not so much on the topic of ethics, but more definitely on community engagement. I'm not sure how many GPs are in this general region, but what is being done for engaging GPs, primary providers, and informing them about clinical trials?
That's a good question. That's for you. Yeah.
That is a good question, and happy to discuss more in the break around that as well. But certainly, we're looking at modelling a few different areas who have started putting out a newsletter through their GP networks. For us here in Bendigo, it's Murray Primary Health Network, and certainly we're looking to get together some information. It's really, really challenging because you don't want to overwhelm people with information, but you want them to be aware of what's happening. But then how do you target specific primary care providers, or do you do generic, through primary health networks, that sort of thing? It's one that I might take some advice from the board chair around as well, being a GP, but we're certainly looking at that and looking at broadening out the community engagement aspect as well, which, is why we opened up today. And, things like printing 300 postcards and I won't say surreptitiously, but popping them in all the health books in the local library so community members are aware that this is on, and putting them on community notice boards in supermarkets, things like that. GPs, primary care providers are also part of our community, so we'd hope that we engage them that way as well. But we are working on different communication strategies to target specific areas. It's, and I was reflecting too on the culturally and linguistically diverse communities and, all of the sort of priority populations across here. It's hard, isn't it? Because you can't sort of run an ad either to say we want a community representative, but they must be, representative of a certain population or LGBTQI or, it's a lot of word of mouth.
There's also, I think, you might find with something like an ethics committee where you've got community engagement and it's a volunteer position, as you point out, Angela. It will be demographically a little bit narrow in the sense that you will have your retired people who are wanting to come in and do some good things. It's so good if you have, say, young people on your committee, because young people are an enormously important part of the participant population, and it's great to get some of those perspectives too. So it's really, I suppose sometimes we have a little bit of a mindset, and if you did a bit of a sweep of HREX across the board, you would probably find that it would be the older demographic in the lay category, and we are wanting to basically have others as well. So young people would be one, culturally and linguistically diverse, as you said, the LGBTQ, and just basically encouraging as much as we can. So again, exercise our networks. Yeah.
Have you thought about rotating membership? It is a burden, it's a lot of work. You get, millions of documents. So, I know for some, say, graduate programs and things, a volunteer, is like almost mandatory. A voluntary sort of, community engagement would sort of fit that criteria. So if you have university students, they can rotate. It's really hard to get onto the ethics committee. I applied in 2011 and was rejected. So I've still got that stuck in my claw.
Probably not old enough yet,
But yeah, that's sort of rotate. So there's less of a burden. I know some people do have the time, others maybe don't have the time. So if you're sort of rotating or have subcommittees, something like that, I just love that sort of, because I was on the ethics committee in my 30s and I came out feeling like we were going cloud nine. The engagement, the learning, the interaction with older clinicians, with community members. Yeah.
And the generosity,
The treats, the coffee and the cake.
Oh, I don't mean that, I just mean intellectually.
I'm joking. I just think that might be something to think about where you might do 3 meetings a year rather than 1 every month, because it is a bit of a burden and rotate, and maybe you've got an LGBTQI representative and you've got a study particular to that community that you want to.
So an interesting idea. I don't think it would work in terms of the statement and what the requirements are, particularly in terms of attendance and all of that. But it might be something to be considering. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You certainly can have people coming in as that you co-opt, and so you can have a pool of those. Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt everyone. We've just got one very quick question before morning tea.
Yeah.
Absolutely a quick question. My name is Toby, I'm with Trial Hub. I had actually a question just building on the rotation that maybe observers, just asking Marin that do you have observers coming in, and that could be, I found sometimes when I do speak about around the ethics committee, there's a bit of intimidation as to what does that entail, and so maybe general observers. Just a thought.
No, definitely. We do welcome people to come in and observe. So the idea would be, if you wanted to make contact with the Research Governance Office, and we can organise something there. So, and then, yeah, that because, as you say, it basically demystifies, and people have a much better idea afterwards of how it works, and feel a lot more, I suppose, able to make contact as well. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. That was great, great discussion and some great ideas. And yeah, my head's whirring actually, and I'll be following up on a lot of those thoughts. And we'll have a chance, if you haven't had a chance to ask a question, use the break time to do so. But I'm not going to stand in the way of hungry audience and morning tea break. But I do want to again thank, Jason Kerr, a proud Jarrah man, for his welcome, and didgeridoo playing this morning, as well as our board chair, Ava. Thank you so very much for your ongoing support as always. And Linda, thank you so much for coming up from Melbourne and Safe Care Victoria and sharing that those learnings with us and your experience. So, as I said, we have an awesome display of posters. Learning Space 2 is where refreshments are. The team will direct traffic around to that room, so you don't get lost there, and that's where all the breaks will be. I do just want to quickly thank our generous sponsors for the event, Trial Docs, whose site Docs platform is being implemented at Bendigo Health to streamline our clinical research document management, and Walters Kluwer, whose databases and resources are vital to our research. And there's representatives from both Trial Docs and Walters Kluwer here today, so go and have a chat to them in the information hubs there. And thanks also to the Regional Clinical Trial Coordinating Centre and VCCC for also your ongoing support and attendance, and providing some information for attendees to chat to you about today as well over there in the learning spaces. And we will have our morning tea break now, and we will reconvene at 11 o'clock. But yeah, have a chat, look at the posters, vote for your favourite. Thank you.